Welcome to Northern Tales, where silence is broken and every woman's story finds its way back to her own voice. In part 7 of Her Name is Nadia, Not Barren, Farouk's world collapsed as his darkest secret, his infertility, collided with Hadiza's unexpected pregnancy, igniting a storm of shame, betrayal, and a truth too heavy for any man to carry. After his visit to the psychiatric hospital, Farouk drove out of the hospital compound like a man fleeing from a burning house. The road to Katsina blurred before his eyes. The trees, the dusty checkpoints, the hawkers, the cattle crossings, they all melted into one long stretch of emptiness. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. His mind was louder than the engine. All he could hear was 5 weeks, 3 days. There's a heartbeat, a child that cannot be his. The doctor's voice echoed in a loop, taunting him. His chest ached. Somewhere between Zaria and Funtua, the tears came again, quietly, like they had been waiting. He wiped them angrily, but they kept coming. He had hi- how had his life collapsed so completely? He How does a man lose everything? His pride, his peace, his truth, while still walking, breathing, existing. He had once imagined fatherhood as a crown. Now it felt like a curse tied around his throat. He thought of Hadiza, her small frame, curled on the bed, crying softly while his mother celebrated around her. He thought of Nadia, shaking in that psychiatric hospital, screaming his name like he was a monster. He thought of his mother, whose entire identity rested on the belief that her son, her only boy, would carry the family forward. And he had failed all of them. A question rose in his mind, sharp as a knife. What am I going to do about this pregnancy? He didn't answer. He couldn't. Every option was a disaster. If he spoke the truth, his mother would break. Hadiza will be ruined. The community will whisper his name like an insult. If he kept the secret, he would raise another man's child, live a lie, carry shame like a second skin. And the truth, because the truth never sleeps, will destroy them eventually anyway. Between Malufashi and Kankara, he slowed the car and pulled over by the roadside. He rested his head against the steering wheel, breathing hard. Dust drifted through the open window. The evening call to prayer echoed faintly from a distant village. And in that moment, Farouk realized there was no right choice, only consequences. He started the car again, driving slowly now, as if each kilometer carried the weight of a lifetime. By the time he reached Katsina, the sun had dipped low, staining the sky with a tired orange, the color of endings. As he pulled into the compound, he noticed something unusual. The house was quiet, too quiet. Mama was sitting on a low stool, her wrapper tied loosely, her prayer beads resting in her lap. Her face was not tense, watching the gate like she had been waiting for him. He stepped out of the car. He didn't speak. He didn't know what to say. Farouk, what happened? His mother asked. And in that moment, without him saying anything, she already knew something was terribly, terribly wrong. He stared at the floor. Mama, I had fertility tests in Malumfashi. They found a problem, so they asked me to go to a bigger hospital. The words spilled from his mouth as if he was waiting all his life to say them. Mama exhaled sharply. Yes? Go on. Mama, let me finish, he cut in gently but firmly. She closed her mouth. He continued. When they said I should go to a bigger hospital, I went not to Kaduna like I told you. I went to Zaria. Mama blinked. Confusion flickered in her eyes. But Farouk kept talking, his voice flat, like someone reading from a page he had memorized long ago. I did everything the doctor said. They checked me everywhere. They checked inside me, Mama. Mama opened her mouth again, shaking her head slowly. She already knew where this conversation was heading. Farouk, she said, doctors make mistakes. You shouldn't allow Mama, he said again, quietly, but with a strength that silenced her. Please let me finish. Her lips trembled. She nodded. Farouk inhaled shakily. When the results came, the doctors looked at me and told me something I didn't know how to hear. I cannot and likely will never father a child in my life. Mama flinched like someone had slapped her. She raised a hand to her chest. Astaghfirullah, Farouk, stop. Stop this. Allah Nefa, nothing is impossible for him. He shook his head slowly. Allah knows, Mama, and I am not doubting him. His voice cracked. But the doctor said the condition is absolute, permanent. Mama, I cannot father a child. Mama inhaled sharply, tears springing to her eyes instantly. Farouk, stop this talk. Doctors don't know everything. Wallahi, they don't. He lifted his hand gently and stopped Mama. A look, she looked at him, a look she had never seen before. The look of a man whose soul had been torn open and stitched back with pain. I'm telling you what I have carried alone for months, he said softly. What I confirmed again and again. In Zaria and even in Kaduna, I went to another hospital. Then last week, when I called the specialist again, Farouk finally looked up at his mother, really looked, and the tears he had been holding back slipped from his eyes. Mama, I cannot be responsible for any pregnancy. The room went dead silent. Even the clock on the wall seemed to stop ticking. Mama stared at him, her face drained of color, her prayer beads frozen mid-count in her trembling hand. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Mama didn't breathe for a long time, terrifying sobs coming from her chest. Her eyes widened, then narrowed, then widened again. A mother's face reshaping itself in real time as her world collapsed. Astaghfirullah, she whispered, but the word came out broken. She pressed a shaking hand on her chest, as though her heart had jumped out of rhythm. Then she stood suddenly, then sat down, then stood again. She paced the room in frantic, uneven steps, her hand pressed against her forehead, and then her chest. The prayer beads slipped from her fingers and fell to the floor. No, 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 Farouk. Bahakaba. Doctors lie. Wallahi, they lie, she cried, voice rising in panic. Kaifa, Kaifa Farouk, you are a strong man. You are healthy. You are, her voice cracked, choked. She grabbed the edge of the dining table for support. Farouk, she shouted as if volume could reverse reality. Your father's blood in you is in you. Your sisters had children. You cannot tell me. You cannot tell me. Farouk lowered his head. Mama, I am telling you what is true. Mama staggered backward, hand on her mouth. Her breath came out in short, sharp gasps. She shook her head violently. No, Allah kiyaye. I reject it. Wallahi, I reject it. She pointed at him with a trembling finger. This is a punishment from Shaitan. That girl, Nadia, waged war on your destiny. Mama, he said quietly, voice cutting sharply across us. Leave Nadia out of this. Mama froze. The room fell silent, except for her ragged bleeding. Then she slumped into a chair, her hands covering her face. Her shoulders shook with soft, muffled sobs, the kind she will never want anyone to witness. Farouk sat still, watching her fall apart slowly, painfully. Minutes passed. Finally, Mama lifted her head, eyes swollen, nose red, voice hoarse. Farouk, Kajini. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a desperate whisper. You cannot tell anyone. People must never hear this. Do you hear me? Never. The shame, the disgrace. It will kill me, Farouk. She grabbed his hand, squeezing hard. You have a child now. Allah ya baka. Marriage has given you a child. Take it, accept it. Ka rufe bakinka, ka rufe idanunka. Pretend, Farouk. Protect us, protect yourself. Her voice trembled as fresh tears spilled. We will keep quiet. We will raise this child. It is better than people knowing you. You, she couldn't finish the sentence. Farouk stared at her like she was a stranger. Then he stood, slowly, firmly, as if every bone in his body had suddenly hardened. Without a word, he turned and walked toward the hallway. She thought he was going to the bedroom he shared with Hadiza, but instead, to her surprise, he reached for Nadia's old room. He opened the door, stepped inside, and closed it behind him with a soft final click. Mama gasped. That single act stabbed her more deeply than the infertility news. Farouk lay on Nadia's old bed, her scent long gone, but her memory sharp enough to cut him. He stared at the ceiling for hours, remembering her laughter, her stubbornness, her softness, her dreams, her pain, everything they had lived, everything he had destroyed. Na zalunce ki, Nadia, na zalunce ki, he whispered into the darkness. And he kept whispering it until sleep finally dragged him under. The house was silent. It must have been around 3 a.m. when Farouk heard 3 soft knocks on the door. Mama's voice followed, weak and trembling. Farouk, Katashi, please, come out. I want to talk to you. He opened the door and stepped into the sitting room. Mama sat on the floor, not on a chair, not on the sofa, on the floor. Her wrapper gathered loosely around her eyes almost swollen shut from crying. Farouk had never seen his mother like this, not even when his father died. She looked at him, broken. Farouk, she whispered, if the world hears this, they will disgrace us. They will laugh at you. They will mock me. They will say I raised a useless son. She wiped her face with trembling fingers. This pregnancy, wallahi, it is your salvation. Allah ya kawo maka ceto, Farouk. Don't push it away. Accept it. Keep quiet. We must protect our name. His voice grew stronger, desperate. But she stopped him. She continued, we cannot return Hadiza. We cannot tell her family. And that baby will grow up as your own. Better a lie than disgrace. Farouk's face darkened slowly. Then for the first time in his life, he shouted at her, not with disrespect, but with the agony of a man drowning. Mama, enough. She flinched so violently she almost fell backwards. How many lives must you destroy for me? His voice thundered through the sitting room. First, Nadia. Now, Hadiza. Tomorrow, the child. Mama shook her head frantically, crying harder. Farouk, Kaishuru. No, he caught her sharply. You, Mama, you. I know you. You will punish Hadiza for this pregnancy. You will blame her. You will curse her. You will make her life hell. You will treat that innocent child like a burden. I know you, Mama. Mama's mouth fell open, wounded. Farouk's voice dropped low and dangerous. I would not be a part of that cruelty. Not again. Not ever. He exhaled, long and shaky. In the morning, I will talk to Hadiza. I will ask her who the father of her child is. Mama covered her mouth with her hands as a fresh wave of tears poured down her cheeks. Farouk turned to leave the sitting room, chest tightening from the confrontation with his mother. But as he stood, he stopped. Hadiza was standing in the doorway. Her small frame leaned against the wall. Her hands trembled. Tears flowed down her cheeks. Her eyes wide, frightened, glistening, looked like those of a child who had run out of places to hide. Farouk stared at her, and despite everything, despite the betrayal, despite the pain eating him from the inside, he felt something unexpected for her. Pity. Because he remembered the girl he married just 8 months ago, the girl who was barely more than a teenager, a shy virgin brought to him with promises of purity and fertility as though she were cattle. He remembered how she shook on her wedding night. He remembered how she never looked him in the eye. He remembered how young she really was. And the question stabbed him. How did we get here? He swallowed. Hadiza, his voice was soft, also gentle. So Kizauna, come and sit here. She stepped inside slowly, her bare feet barely making a sound. She sat on the edge of the mat, small, trembling, eyes glued to the floor. Farouk inhaled deeply. No anger, no shouting, just a man cutting into the truth like removing a knife from his own flesh. He went straight to the point. Hadiza, I am not the father of your child. Her breath caught. Farouk continued, voice steady but hollow. I cannot father a child. I have known so for months. Tell me the truth. He leaned forward. Who is responsible for the pregnancy? Silence. Then Hadiza covered her face with both hands and burst into quiet, helpless tears. But she didn't deny it. She didn't pretend. She didn't beg. Instead, her voice came out in a tiny whisper. Armayao. Farouk blinked. Mama's hand flew to her chest, and Aziza kept talking like a dam finally bursting. His name is Armayao. He mans a small kiosk near our house. We grew up seeing each other. We used to talk. We laughed. He is the one I love. She wiped her nose on her wrapper, still crying. I thought I was going to marry him one day. Mama whispered, horrified, Subhanallah. Hadiza? But the girl continued. My mother said he was too young, that he had no money, that you were from a good family, that once I give birth for you, I will become the queen of the house. Mama flinched as though she was slapped. Hadiza's voice grew small again. I swear, wallahi, before the marriage, we never did anything more than touching each other. Just touching, hugging, nothing else. Her breath shook. But about 3 months ago, after Mama started going to the market for long hours, he came to the house. I was lonely. I missed him. And that is when she covered her eyes again. That is when we started sleeping together. Silence swallowed the room. A heavy, terrifying, suffocating silence. Mama sat frozen, mouth open, eyes wide in disbelief. Her lips trembled, but no words came. Farouk sat there numb, staring into nothing, as if his soul had quietly packed a bag and left his body. Hadiza's confession hung in the air like smoke. Shameless in its honesty, childlike in its simplicity, painful in its truth. Mama finally found her voice, a cracked whisper. Hadiza, Kina Haukani, how can you say this? How can you talk like this so easily? You. But Farouk raised his hand slightly. In that moment, he realized he wasn't dealing with betrayal. He was dealing with a child who had been pushed into a woman's life she wasn't ready for. A girl who loved someone else. A girl who had her choices stolen. A girl who made a decision she didn't understand the weight of. A girl who had now changed all their lives forever. By the crack of dawn, before the first call of prayer rolled across Katsina, Farouk was already dressed. Hadiza sat quietly on the edge of the bed, eyes swollen, hands shaking. Mama sat in the corridor, pleading, crying, begging him not to bring disgrace on the family. Farouk, ka tsaya dai, ka yi tunani. Think about this. Don't take her home, please, Farouk. People will talk. He didn't answer. He simply said, Hadiza, tashi, kitashi, let's go. She followed him in silence. They drove through the quiet morning streets. No traffic, no noise, just the heaviness of a marriage ending before it even began. At her parents' gate, Hadiza's father stepped out, confused by the unexpected visit at such an early hour. Farouk, is everything all right? Please, Farouk said in a very calm voice. Mushikachiki, I have something important to discuss with you. Let's go inside. Inside the sitting room, he sat opposite the man who had handed him a young girl as a wife 8 months ago. He didn't waste words. He didn't dramatize anything. He simply told the truth. Everything. His infertility, the confirmed medical test, Hadiza's pregnancy, her confession, Armayau, all of it. The room fell into stunned silence. Hadiza's mother covered her face in shame. Her father sat back slowly, chest rising and falling with disbelief. But Farouk, for the first time in months, felt air in his lungs. He stood, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a folded envelope. I am sorry, he said quietly. I failed her. I failed myself. This marriage should never have happened. He placed the envelope on the table, a written divorce, signed, stamped, and final. You can come to pack our things anytime you are ready. Before the father could speak, shout, beg, or even breathe properly, Farouk turned and walked out of the house. No anger, no fear, just a strange, unexpected feeling washing over him. Relief. For the first time in a very long time, something inside him felt light. He got into the car, closed the door gently, and whispered to himself, Allah ya kare mu daga abin da ya fi ƙarfinmu. And he drove away. Free, broken, but free. Farouk drove, but he didn't go home. Not yet. Not to Mama. Not to the empty room he once shared with Hadiza. Not to Nadia's old room, where the scent of regret still clung to his chest. Instead, he pulled over beside a quiet field at the edge of town, the same place he used to stop with Nadia after evening prayers, back when the world still made sense. He stepped out of the car. The air was cool, still, almost gentle. For the first time in a long time, the weight inside him felt bearable. He had spoken the truth. He had released Hadiza. He had dropped the lie that had been choking him since Zaria. But every relief carries a shadow, and Farouk felt it standing quietly beside him. A question without an answer. What now? He didn't know. He had divorced a girl who loved someone else. He had broken his mother's heart. He had destroyed the illusion of the perfect son. And he had finally admitted the truth he feared more than death. He could not give anyone a child. He sat on the bonnet of the car staring at the rising sun. For a long, long moment, he looked peaceful, too peaceful, as if a decision was forming somewhere deep inside him. Not rushed, not desperate, but quiet, dangerously quiet. He reached for his phone, switched it off, placed it in the glove compartment, locked it, walked away from the car. 1 step, 2 steps, 3, not in anger, not in panic, just walking, like a man returning to a place he had left unfinished. And then he whispered, almost like a prayer, Ya Allah, ka shirya rayuwata before I lose myself completely. Ya Allah, show me the direction. He knew before he reaches home, the story would have spread all over. In that moment, he made a promise to himself, whatever consequences come from this, he will accept it. There is no more hiding. You have been listening to Northern Tales, where silence is broken and every woman's story finds its way back to her own voice. In our next chapter, we return to Nadia, her healing, her strength, her rebirth. If this chapter moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Every engagement helps another story find the courage to be told. See you in the next chapter.